Hello and welcome to Tuesday on Crypto. Oh my God, we have a crypto battle of champions going on. It's super exciting. Let's just dive right into it. So as I mentioned briefly yesterday, Hyperliquid put out their proposal for their own stablecoin, USDH. And while this is realistically just a ticker, and you can go onto Hyperliquid and you can actually bid via auction on any ticker, the assumption here is that this will be Hyperliquid's preferred stablecoin of choice. Now, why is this interesting? Well, that's because Hyperliquid is becoming a premier venue for liquidity. This is basically like saying, hey, Binance, we want to come in and be your stablecoin. Now, Binance has BUSD. They're handling that in-house. That's pretty obvious. They're an equity-based company, but Hyperliquid's whole thesis is that they have the support fund where a lot of the revenue goes back into token buybacks. Remember, Hyperliquid raised no VC capital. It was a small team at inception. They self-funded, and their big gains are going to be this token. So if the hype token goes up, the team not only wins bigly, but so does everybody that's been involved. And that initial airdrop that went out to early users is a multi-million-dollar thing at this point in time. So they've done a tremendous job. Now, the core of this is the Hyperliquid product. It has been attracting billions of dollars worth of perp traders. It has no KYC. You can access it from anywhere. And in a nutshell, it is entirely permissionless so long as you have a Web3 wallet. So let's go back to this USDH, this Hyperliquid stablecoin concept. And one fun way to look at this is the poly market predictions market, something that goes hand in hand with perps right now, which says who will win the USDH ticker. Now, I will say this was more fun when I opened it initially because there's been one major proposal that's come in since this has happened, which is Athena. And I think it is one of the more competitive proposals out there. So we have native markets, Paxos, Sky, Agora, Frax. Now, Sky is the decentralized stablecoin. It used to be called MakerDAO with the stablecoin asset DAI. And they also came out with quite an interesting proposal. I just want to hop into how crazy this actually is. So they put forth this governance proposal. Now, this means that major holders of Hype will be voting on which one of these proposals becomes the actual stablecoin. And we have Jan van Eck of Van Eck Traditional Finance coming out here on X saying, "Dear Hyperliquid community, we're impressed by your product, the technology, the decentralized governance, and the method of your rollout. We think we can be part of a trusted, compliant solution. We're bullish on Hyperliquid. We're owners and have been for several months. So not only are we learning that major institutions are long Hype, and they're doing this not through perpetual positions, we're seeing buying appetite for the Hype asset itself being just tremendous. Major funds are coming out, six-man ventures, obviously Van Eck. The sheer volume of people saying, hey, we've been holders, we have a big bag, and we want to support the growth is absolute mania. So this is an interesting proposal coming from Van Eck. There's not really substance underneath, but they're saying, hey, if you want TradFi, we will hold your hand on this. Now, one of the biggest players to come out, and this happened earlier today, is Athena. And if you remember my take yesterday on the Mega ETH stablecoin, in which Athena was backing it through the BlackRock Builder Fund, we're getting something similar here, coming out and just saying Athena respectfully requests the community and the validator set to consider it for the USDH ticker, proposing that Hyperliquid for a stablecoin leveraging the collective battle-tested expertise and resources of Athena and its partners with an emphasis on security, community, and compliance. Now, there's a lot going on here, an immaculate track record, the ability and the desire to return the vast majority of the value created to the Hyperliquid communities, credible option to diversify the tail risk of USDC related hacking, legitimate pathway to multi-billion-dollar value for USDH. Now, this goes on, and it's pretty juicy to say it will cover all the transaction costs for the migration of USDC to USDH. That is a big cost as people move out of the Circle asset and into this. Athena commits to deploy at least 95% of net revenue generated to the reserves for the benefit of the Hyperliquid community, either in the form of Hype purchases or contributions to the Assistant Fund. Hype purchases or distribution to users with staked Hype delegated to validators. So we're looking at the same kind of thing. Athena is expanding to this proof of liquidity to say, hey, look, our base stablecoin will generate yield, and we can pass that yield along in a variety of ways. Mega ETH said we will use that to operate the core business, so that's not on token holders, and so that cost is alleviated from the basis of the token. Now here they're saying, hey, look, we can either go back and we can buy back Hype, or we could share that yield amongst Hype stakers. Now Hype, it has staking. It's very low. It's about 2%. However, you're getting 2%, not super rich in crypto land, but you're on an asset that is just a rocket ship. So you're really looking to hold that hype. And it's like, if you are holding, you may as well collect 2%, right? Athena Labs research would become a risk manager and looking to contribute against, hack exploitation. They really talk a lot about exploitation response and making sure that that is all mitigated. Here, they propose security and ongoing management would be constructed with an elected group of validators, including LayerZero. They've already got LayerZero built into the Athena platform, meaning that you could cross from like Solana, for example, into this ecosystem. And Hyperliquid is an Ethereum L2. They are building their own. They're on Arbitrum at present, but they want the Hyper EVM to do this sort of reverse expansion. So in the way that so many chains come out with increased transactions per second, and then they launch DEXs, and then they launch apps, Hyperliquid's going the other way. They came out with a killer app, and they're trying to expand to a whole DeFi ecosystem from there. And we're talking about serious cash flows, house all of finance while being able to capture 200 million plus of annual cash flows from native stablecoin issuance. We encourage the community to dream bigger and imagine what's possible for a partner beyond a narrow and commoditized product offering. This is enough to fill the $800 per point prophecy. Looking at Hype, which now trades at about $51, and they're saying we could take it to $800 if we really partner up with this. Now they have reward incentivized collateral, where Athena's USDE has grown double the size of USDC on Bybit. Bybit is another major perps trading platform after Binance, with 12% penetration of all dollar assets on the exchange. So they're basically coming out and saying, look, we've done this before. We've grown the total value locked of these stablecoin ecosystems, and holy moly, it's massive. Of course, they have the modular prime brokerage, where Athena has begun discussions and are currently in stealth project with bringing a major prime brokerage layer to Hyperliquid. Athena is the single largest lender into Aave via USDE backing. So we're not only connecting further with the perps market, but the lending borrowing. Again, bringing this all together. Perps on equities, and this is pretty wild. This represents the single largest cash flow opportunity for Hyperliquid or any front end providing this product. Equally, the growth of perp swaps and equity markets represents one of the largest opportunities for Athena to expand the TAM of potential basis trades backing with USDE greater than 30x. What they're saying here is that Hyperliquid can take its perps market, which trades around crypto coins, and if they bring this prime brokerage entity, and if they bring equity into it, they're looking competitive with the S&P and with NASDAQ itself. So this is really fucking cool, guys. And one little thing hidden in here that I just think it cannot be understated. Launch of securitized platform on Hyper EVM. Securitize, the world's leader in tokenizing real-world assets, as well as the chosen tokenization partner of BlackRock, will deploy its platform to Hyper EVM and bring institutional-grade tokenized stocks, funds, and other financial products to the Hyperliquid ecosystem. If Securitize gets pulled into all of this, I mean, damn, my alma mater is Republic. They also dealt with tokenized securities, and man, this is just a huge leap forward. You'd basically be taking deep liquidity and an amazing product that has massive product market fit. Users want to use Hyperliquid and saying, hey, we can bring stocks to this platform. You will not need to go to E-Trade. You will not need to go to Robinhood. You can plug in with your Web3 wallet, and through some KYC on the proper front end, you can trade stocks the way we're trading all of this. So this is absolutely mind-blowing and very cool. But it doesn't stop there. We have MakerDAO coming out, now called Sky, saying, hey, look, the best stablecoin offers so much more than just a stable medium of exchange. It should deliver highly efficient returns generated by actively developing, building, and growing the ecosystem it lives in. Now, one thing to understand is that Maker has been growing this decentralized stablecoin, previously DAI, now Sky. And the way they've been doing this is by building a war chest, a huge treasury of a variety of assets. That could be USDC, that could be real estate, that could be crypto assets themselves. Think of them as a digital asset treasury long before any of these things happened, but it's all on chain. And they're coming out with just this massive offer saying, hey, look, USDH will access 2.2 billion USDC in instant liquidity for off-chain redemptions. Whereas Athena says, hey, we'll suck away USDC's competitive edge, Sky is coming out and saying we have so much USDC. If they want to get out, if they want those on-ramps and off-ramps, it's there, $2.2 billion worth. It'll be native multi-chain powered by LayerZero. Well, there's a familiar name, so that's in both offerings. They'll be able to deploy its $8 billion balance sheet into Hyperliquid, kind of in a similar vein, saying, hey, look, we have all of these assets. We will start trading them on your platform. Hyperliquid will receive 4.85% return on all of the USDH on on Hyperliquid. And this is better than T-bills. It's backed by risk management. This is what Sky does for a living. They will benefit from the 7+ year security track record, unbeatable by the lindiness of Sky Protocol. Lindy meaning it hasn't broken yet, so we trust that it won't break. They can provide $25 million in capital to create a new project, a project that will autonomously grow DeFi on Hyperliquid, serving the needs of the community. Basically, a fork of this other product called Spark. And Spark is the best examples of star token farm. Basically, this would be a token farming mechanic that all siphons back to Hyperliquid. So they have risk management, they have the best stablecoin in the world, they have the Genius Act compliant, and the reality is that one fun thing about Sky, you can actually see it all on chain. So here's the Sky ecosystem, and in classic crypto format, we can see it really actively grow. So you have about $8 billion worth under the Sky DAI format, with rewards being 1.5 billion generated savings in two. Now, USDS diversification, they have Grove, stablecoins, legacy RWAs, core Spark, staking engine. They've been building this thing out forever. So the farther you want to dive in, you can just really get in here and see what's going on. Maker is the governance token that oversees all of this. And of course, you have the activity. How often are they committing new upgrades to the protocol? So this is some truly fascinating stuff. Now, when we come back, I called out There Will Be Moon's spreadsheet yesterday, but he's updated it and kept it going. So for anyone that really wants the full gamut going on here, we have the other competitors: Native Market, Paxos, Frax Finance, Agora, Sky, and of course they're rating Sky now with 2 stars, and we'll have to see what happens when Athena gets added here. My take is that the Sky and the Athena proposals greatly outweigh the others, and you know what's fascinating is that Hyperliquid put out this call to action, and everybody is barking. They want it so badly. They are willing to share 95 to 100% of the revenue because they know how expansive that this is going to be. That Hyperliquid could become this new age modern update to the way we trade everything. There's no reason why blockchain rails should be limited to just cryptographically secured tokens. They can be equities, they can be prediction markets, they can be perps. Perps are blowing the minds of TradFi. They haven't seen this concept before, and they're loving the way that the constant funding rates operate. So it's just absolutely insane. And again, Hyperliquid, one of those sub 20 teams that's very small, and they've just relied on the killer product and product market fit that they found to say, hey guys, let's let you compete openly. And the reality is the core team isn't going to be able to decide which wins. Now, they're probably the primary operators of the validators. This will be put to a validator vote. So suffice it to say, there will be a lot of insight. But theoretically speaking, this vote is up for the participants of the Hyperliquid ecosystem. That's less going to be the traders, probably more people running the validators, people building inside the DeFi ecosystem, early movers. But this is tremendous. It does exemplify the power of decentralization and distribution and what blockchain is capable of doing. We are seeing a very different format where these conversations are no longer backroom conversations. They're happening out in public, where these proposals are being pitched by massive companies on x.com, where the discussion can unfold and more learnings can happen in an organic fashion. It's a super exciting thing to witness. This is definitely a battle for supremacy. And now Circle and Tether, they have real competition out there. So things continue to unfold. We haven't even gotten into Fireblocks' stablecoin, and I'm sure there's more stablecoins to come, but holy moly. I mean, look, if the fiat dollar gets really wrecked by the current macro in the United States, but again becomes the techno dollar of all commerce on the internet, I have no idea what becomes of the US dollar, but it's certainly digitizing, and it's digitizing quickly. And, you know, let's be real, everyone uses mobile. So this makes like a lot of sense in the end. That being said, the markets are all very wonky. The jobs data was fucking atrocious. The macro, not so great, but maybe crypto can save us all. That being said, don't overlever, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow.